it's me, Jay, your DM. I use he, him.
Hi, it's Haley. I use she, her.
It's Matt. I use he, him.
And this is Insight Check, where we delve into the dungeon of your bad decisions and retrieve the treasure of wisdom.
Dun, dun, dun.
Welcome one and all. We're back. We took a week off. We got busy.
Sometimes you gotta rest.
Yeah.
Guys, let's come back in like 20, 30 minutes.
No. Podcasts must be created from whole cloth out of the top quality materials.
At least medium quality materials.
Hope everybody out there is doing well, staying healthy, happy, and home. Had to bring it on back with another H word. If you can hear a slight thumping noise in the background, my roommate is beating the shit out of a chicken.
Now, hold on.
What?
Hold on. Just prior to recording, somebody was giving me a bunch of shit about the weird noises that my apartment comes up with, but never has beating the shit out of a chicken occurred audibly.
It's true.
It hasn't. My roommate is just
My roommate's vegetarian.
slamming a chicken against the cooking board, I guess. I don't know. It's really loud.
Tenderizing. It's important.
Yeah, he's
I guess.
tenderizing. I'm about to go tenderize his ass. Wait a minute.
Oh no.
Aces are at it again.
Oh man.
All right, everybody. This week we are going to crawl around in dungeons as usual. But this week we have a very special dungeon crawl because a revision of Unearthed Arcana came out. Haley, have you checked this out yet?
Only very briefly. I read Era's description, which was writer, wizard, genie, warlock, emo, rogue.
Nailed it.
Perfect. Yeah.
So that seemed like all I needed to know. I was like, okay. The only other thing that I noticed when I opened it up and I scrolled through it was Wails from the Grave is a great spell name.
Yeah, for sure.
That's my first take.
It is W-A-I-L, not W-H.
Yeah.
Oh, it would be really great, actually. Wails from the Grave with an H.
Yeah.
I would like that spell. Just you hear spectral whale noises and everyone gets confused for a round.
For sure.
So does anybody have any more standard dungeon crawls?
It's not actually specifically D&D's related, but I have read a very cool book recently.
Oh, cool.
That I quite enjoyed that I would like to share. It's called The 7.5 Deaths of Evil in Hardcastle.
Ooh,
And
my friend suggested this book for me.
it is quite good. It is by Stuart Turton. It's very cool. I don't want to give away spoilers because it's very mystery Agatha Christie type style writing with just a very different twist to it. And something that you'll find out pretty early on if you decide to read the book is this main character is waking up as a person and he has no memories and he is tasked with solving a murder.
Mm-hmm.
And it's pretty cool. And I think that there's some interesting stuff that could contribute to some puzzles or some D&D type adventures. I think you could get some good inspiration from it. So check it out if it sounds like your thing.
Nice. I had my friend describe it to me as Groundhog Day, but murders.
Yeah, it's kind of like Groundhog Day.
I mean,
because the person is just like, so tiny spoiler, but the person wakes up as a different person in this same day 7 times. And so he's seeing the same events every day for a week. And he's remembering each of the individual days. So he's trying to work out what happened. And then there's a twist at the end. Dun, dun, dun. Like all good books.
it's like Scott Bakula, Quantum Leap. It's great.
Matt, do you have something you would like to go over?
You know what? I started, I'm running a game. These days.
Yeah, this is the one for your friends, right?
How's it going?
A friend of mine reached out. Is like, "Hey, are you still doing anything with D&D? Because I've been watching these videos on the YouTubes, and I was just like, yeah, I know a thing or two about D&D.
I've been known
to dabble with some dice, and so we've started running. I'm starting with Orrery of the Wanderer from the Ack Inc. book, and then I'm gonna spiral outwards.
Nice.
It's going well. It's a good way to catch up with old friends and get people together. Meanwhile, Jay, you're taking hiatus.
I just took a week off of 2 of my games just to kind of recharge my batteries and get ahead on planning. They were both in a very nice stopping point, so it was very fortuitous that I could pause both of them at the same time. But honestly, I probably didn't need to. I could have played. I'm really missing D&D right now. I'm so glad I have it tomorrow.
He's got those
I
withdrawals.
am a DM for life. I just love playing Dungeons and Dragons. It's good to recharge your batteries, for sure. And it's good to make sure to it's good to check in with yourself and make sure that you're still passionate about things, right? That you're not kind of running on fumes or forcing yourself to keep going because you feel like you should, but like you're actually excited to play.
Just like life.
But I spent this whole week like super like, oh, I wish I was playing tonight. Oh my God. Why did I cancel? I can't uncancel now. So yeah, I definitely am still passionate.
That's good. I'm glad you've learned this about yourself.
I had to check in with old Jay, the little Jay that lives inside my heart. Okay, let's talk about UA. So these are unique because they are not actually new UA, but revisions of old UA.
It's not that, like, I mean, the Artificer came through 4 or 5 times.
Well, compared to the inundation of new subclasses we've been getting lately, this is a bit unique because it is a revision of an existing material as opposed to anything that's like brand new. Although some of these have changed pretty significantly. Specifically, the Artificer subclass, the
Archivist.
So the Artificer subclass, the Archivist, has moved to Wizard.
The sad 4th drop child, which it was the one I liked.
It has switched to Wizard class now, and it maintains its key feature, which was the Archivist Mind, which is a little ghost you can summon on the battlefield that you can move around, and you can cast spells through it. But it's also gained some class features from the Lore Wizard, which was dropped a long time ago, and has been sort of re-themed. Instead of being around creating brains for Warforged, it's been re-themed around sort of the ultimate record keeper wizard, the ultimate spell book wizard. So everything's about writing in your spell book, getting bonuses for having your spell book, making your spell book as thorough as possible. You get half off on writing in spells in there. You can change the flavor of damage on your spells to other spells in your spell book. So for example, if you have Fireball and Thunder Wave in your book, you can have a Thunderball, which is fun.
Could you have a Fire Wave?
Yes.
For sure.
I like this. That's cool. That gives you a little bit more creativity.
There's also Meteor Swarm, which you can reflavor as like force damage, which is really powerful. Or you could reflavor as lightning damage. And then you can get certain benefits by going into Tempest Cleric. So, it's going to be interesting. I think it's a little top heavy right now. I think the level 2 feature is a little rich. But I think this is definitely something they can dial back a little and make right. And this is a really great, interesting class. A lot of people seem to be really excited about it. So I like it. The revised Rogue is called the Phantom Rogue now. And basically before it was revived. So literally at level 3 you learned you had died at some point and come back as a revived rogue. They changed the lore because that doesn't make a lot of sense for every character. So now it is more of a rogue that is sort of in tune with these certain skills that allow it to use special psychic abilities and ghostly powers.
Yeah, it's still very much the spooky one.
For sure. They kept the like spooky lore, but they didn't necessarily emphasize the you have definitely died at some point in the past lore so much. So whenever you sneak, you get to do like psychic damage, I think it is, to an additional target within 30 feet.
Half your half your sneak attack as psychic damage to another target.
Ooh,
pretty
so to
freaking
a separate
cool
target? That's cool.
Yeah, so you get to have a little AoE effect on your sneak attack. It's only half your sneak, so at level 5, that'll just be like it's rounded up, so that'd be 2 dice. But still, I mean, 2 extra die of damage for free. I'm not going to be mad about that.
I mean, that's the impact of the whales.
Yeah, that is. And then there's like a ghost walk ability. I think it lets you walk through walls.
It does say that you can phase partially into the realm of the dead, becoming like a ghost. You have a flying speed of 10 feet. You can hover. You can move through creatures and objects as if they were difficult terrain. You take force damage if you end your turn inside of a creature or object.
Yeah, for sure. That's the same incorporeal rules as a lot of ghosts have. That's really cool. I mean, for rogues, being able to sneak into places by literally going through the walls, that's very sweet. That's great stuff. Anything else on the Revive Rogue?
Yeah, the old version was Bolts from the Grave, where you basically had to do like a ranged spell attack with your sneak attack if you haven't already used your sneak attack. Mm-hmm. So this is an interesting change. But the notion of having like tokens, right? The 9th level feature, where when you start killing things, you start making tokens out of them. And
it's creepy.
And you can basically crunch one of these tokens and ask a question that it knew in life.
Yeah, so you get like a special item that somehow reflects the person you killed. And then whenever you smash it, you get to ask that dead soul a question. That's pretty cool. It's kind of like a mini soul cage.
You also apparently get advantage on death saving throws and constitution saving throws while holding this thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you only need one of them to have that, so just make sure you hang on to your last one.
It's pretty cool.
Now the spirit within that you are asking the question doesn't have to be honest with you at all.
Oh, sort of like Speak with Dead.
Yeah, it just knows what it knows in life, and it's under no obligation to be truthful.
Mm-hmm. So kind of a weakened version of Soul Cage or buffed version of Speak with Dead. Somewhere in that zone. I think the new Phantom Rogue is really cool. I thought the revived Rogue was really cool. I'm glad that they've kept it. I'm glad that it survived the purge of subclasses that have been just inundating us.
Yeah, so anyway, the Genie.
Yeah, the Genie. So the Genie is similar to its previous incarnation in some ways, but has significantly changed as well. They got rid of all the tether stuff.
Which is actually the part about it I liked.
Yeah, for sure. I thought the being able to tether your friend and give them buffs was kind of neat. But they've definitely made it more about having this really cool lamp that can do all sorts of neat tricks. So you can go into the lamp as a bonus action or an action. And it's like a whole room. It's literally like I Dream of Genie, where you have this whole room inside your lamp or other object. And then at a certain level, you can take your friends with you into that room.
Is it sort of like a tiny hut type situation?
Kind of, but it's an actual physical object. So, for example, you could go in there to sleep and then wake up and somebody's stolen your lamp and taken it to their home.
And you just pop out in someone else's house.
Yeah, exactly.
Like when I saw that, like I was immediately like, okay, you're just going to start sneaking your warlock in everywhere. Just hand your lamp or your ring or whatever it is to another party member, and then they just sneak you in places.
And a juicy bit about this room is with only 10 minutes in the room, you get the effects of a short rest.
Do you get that?
Cool.
So
do you get that up front, or is that later in?
No, that's later on. That's when you can bring your allies into the room. Basically, that means short rests are from 60 minutes to 10 minutes. And for a warlock especially, that's very meaty because a warlock gets all their spells back on a short rest. So that's a nice combo right there. That's good synergy for you. Mm-hmm. Not only that, I think there are concentration spells for the warlock that are like 1 hour. And then when you short rest, you normally lose those concentration spells. But this might allow you to game some systems where you can keep concentration spells up for 50 minutes and get the spell slot back off of them.
Yeah, it saves time on your hex, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Although by like 10th level, it's got like a 16-hour whatever.
But yeah, it's really good, and I'm excited about the new Genie because the other major feature now is previously they had the ability to send somebody to your Genie and like hang out and get insulted. That feature was awesome, and I deeply miss it. However, now you have the feature to just ask for a wish, and any spell 6th level or lower, the Genie can choose to do. So you can just sort of imitate the effect of a 6th level or lower spell on by asking your genie for a wish.
Yeah, well, they sort of had the wish in the last one, right? But you had to make a persuasion roll, which is not innately on the Warlock list of features.
And your save against that was also the DC.
Yeah, it was you were fighting your own spell save DC to cast a wish. This does reset on a 1d4 long rests, which I'll be surprised if that stays in. It just seems, I don't know, I found that interesting.
Well, I mean, it's a free 6th level spell so, of any class, so I can imagine why they'd want to have some sort of restriction.
Well, I don't mind there being a restriction. It's just, they have not done this kind of thing before. Yeah,
but it's nice because, on a D4, you could potentially get it back the next day if you get lucky enough. But yeah, I like the wish feature. Being able to emulate any 6th level spell or lower, there's a lot you can do with that. Greater Restoration, if your party doesn't have it, it can be very clutch to be able to pull out a Genie Wish Greater Restoration.
Or Revivify, or, there's a lot of...
Resurrection.
Which, by the way, component costs, not a factor.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So you can just do it without having the supplies?
Yeah. So this could be, I could see this being exceedingly clutch for many campaigns where there's a situation that nobody can get past. Yeah, I like the revisions. All the revisions are cool. And the classes I like are still alive, which is all I care about.
The one thing they did do is give you they tied it more to the D&D genie that are elemental based. So you have your expanded spells.
The resistances.
And so, you get one spell that they all get, right? And then you have it. Then it's based on which type of genie you have: the Dao, the Genie, the Afridi, or the Marids.
I like the flavor, obviously, of getting the elemental resistance of your genie type, but I also really like that you get those customized spells because for the Warlock, especially, your spell list can be kind of challenging.
Well, as with all Warlock spell lists, they are not you don't get them right with other spell lists.
You have to pick them.
There are more options for you, which is still great.
Other than that, you also get a little damage boost to your attacks once per turn. So it's basically like a mini sneak attack, a tiny little sneak attack.
It is absolutely not remotely at all like a sneak attack because it's your proficiency bonus.
I guess it's closer to a cleric's empowered cantrip ability.
Yeah.
But you can use it on anything. So you can use it on a sword attack. So if you're Hexblade, you can tap on a little extra damage on your melee. Or more commonly, Eldritch Blast. You can get one of those beams to do a little extra juice. And I'm here for it. I am here for because so many of the Warlock players are using Hexblade for that min-maxed build. I do want the Genie build to have some sort of optimization in it just to entice people down that road. If you're going to make a Warlock, you've got to boost their damage a little bit or offer them some capacity to be strong. I think it's smart to give them a little damage boost to entice those players. Warlocks
Not
are
everybody
fine.
needs to be a Hexblade.
Not everybody needs to be, but a lot of people are. I think it was something like 90% of Warlock players multi-class, according to D&D Beyond.
Lazy.
Hi.
So salty. Anyway, that is the Unearthed Arcana. You should check it out yourself. It will be on D&D Beyond by the time we are out. So you can go check it out right now.
So we got a question from Scout in our questions channel that we are excited to discuss. So here is the question. In a homebrew world with a pantheon of saints that are canonized adventurers from other eras, rather than true deities, should players being cleric and paladin, multi-class into warlock for the same saint? For example, if you have a cleric harbinger, can they take warlock of the harbinger as their patron?
There is the celestial soul or the celestial pact, right? What is it called?
It's Divine Soul Sorcerer and
Celestial Pact Warlock. Yes. So there's the Celestial Pact Warlock, which you can certainly do with a god or a celestial of some kind. And I mean, yeah, what are we supposed to say? No? Yeah, for sure.
I do think it's interesting thought or point to bring up that they would be sort of multi-classed into something that is also connected to the same entity. I feel like that actually makes more sense to me than if I'm like...
Yeah, having two deals with two opposing entities.
Right. If I'm a cleric, but I'm also a warlock of something that's like in conflict with my deity, unless I wanted to kind of play into that.
Yeah, it's like narratively, that seems like a lot of fun.
That's true.
But my philosophy on the cleric paladin versus warlock has always been that clerics and paladins are like the full timers, and then warlocks are temps or contract workers. Literally.
Literally contract workers,
yeah.
Yep.
So I see no problem doing it, but it definitely is something to think about how the nature of the relationship changes. Where, yes, they have levels in cleric, but are they still a cleric? Right? Has the nature of the relationship with their god or whatever changed?
Right. I would almost see it making sense narratively to go in the other direction. You're a warlock with this alignment, and then you end up going down a more of a cleric or paladin path. That seems interesting to me. You wanted to...
You went full time.
Yeah, exactly. You wanted to devote more to this thing. This entity, this relationship. You wanted to spread the word.
I like the idea of using saints in your world as opposed to using gods directly as well, because there's... First of all, it allows a really diverse portfolio within one god. So in D&D, there tends to be gods who are kind of one-dimensional because they have to exemplify one of the aspects of a subclass that you can take. So war, there needs to be a war god who's all about war. But when you have saints, you can have a warlike saint, a saint for this god who went to battle and led people in victory, and they became the holy knight saint or something. And so they can represent that aspect of war while still representing the sort of broader perspective of a more complex god. So that's actually a really cool idea. And allowing that, what you might even introduce is sectarian belief. So this saint might have two different schools of followers, like the main canon, and then maybe this subversive group who follows a different aspect of that saint or a different philosophy of that saint. And so maybe they're a warlock to a different interpretation of the same saint.
That is interesting.
Yeah, so you create this sort of interesting wrinkle where this saint is sort of almost two entities at this point. The one worshipped by the cult group and the one worshipped by the main orthodoxy. And it also allows you to introduce conflict within the church, right? So you've got the god, you've got the saints who are all sort of in a minor conflict for followers. And then among that saint, there's a sectarian divide within the church, which creates a conflict there. And conflict is the heart of drama, and drama is the purpose of the game. So I say go for it.
If you want a decent example of this, in the Forgotten Realms, Lathander, there's it's like the 3-part god theory where Lathander was this other god and maybe this third other, but it basically breaks down into sunset, dawn, and midday, the sun. And there are these little 3 different factions, and I think Evelyn Marthane has run into some of that.
There was a whole arc about her dealing with Lathander's other church, trying to invade the Lathander church and subvert it to a different orthodoxy.
But you don't even have to play it as an invasion. It becomes an intrigue thing of they are subverting the way people think about it.
Mm-hmm. I think one of the other parts of this that was interesting to me was that these saints are adventurers from other eras, which is kind of a cool thing that you could play in. If you have a campaign and they get really high level and they want to do something new and fresh, you could have their old characters become these saints, and then you can have this cool dynamic of all of that layered history of your game, which I think adds some cool depth to a game that you don't maybe get with just a cleric that has picked one of these pre-made or pre-generated deities to follow.
And I am certainly a fan of giving your previous players cameos in your next game. I love that sort of like interconnected world you can create by weaving your canon together and having all these different campaigns take place in the same world. You really create this sort of deeper sense of the world when you're constantly hearing about the stories of other adventures in different places and things that happened here 100 years ago. And, you know, as a DM, it can be very difficult to make your world feel alive. But if you play in the same world and you keep spacing out the campaigns, eventually you sort of accidentally generate a history for your world.
I actually there are at least 2 or 3 people I know who have like made their homebrew and their campaign settings based off a similar idea of like, oh, this world was created by previous adventurers who like attained godhood or something. I wonder how common that is among people who like homebrew their worlds.
Well, I think it's a classic campaign ender, right? Ascending to godhood. So I have to imagine it is a tale as old as the game itself. This is from user Wife on Reddit, and they said it has a lot of eyes.
I'm sorry, what was the name again?
So my Wife.
Perfect.
Okay, so my first campaign is going to start in a few days. I'm very new, and I made a joke about wanting to be a rock as my race. It got away from me, and people took me seriously. Now I'm a warlock that was transformed into a rock.
You're a warlock?
People seem excited about it, so it is too late to back out now. Any recommendations on how I should play this?
Do it, coward.
Well, I don't know that it's too late yet.
You could still say, I would like to not be a rock.
Now, my question is, are they an inanimate rock?
That's what I was taking it as, like someone's going to carry this character around in their pocket.
Yeah.
Or are you like a person made of rock and you move around? Like you're just your flesh shape was turned into rocks.
Are you the guy from the Thor movie?
Yeah, I definitely think that playing a rock is sort of a weird choice. And for sure, it was a bold direction to go in your character creation process.
See, the trick.
I have allowed a player to play a potato
I was going to
before.
say, you've had a potato. Is a potato any different than a rock?
Well, the potato had little vines for legs, little roots for feet, and vines for arms. So it was a little different. Also, it was a very unusually large potato.
Well, like that's got to be the difference, right? Like you can't just be a rock because that's not like eventually that will not be fun.
Yeah, for sure. Eventually, carrying around your warlock will get old.
Making sure the rest of your party carries you around constantly or doesn't forget you in a hole somewhere.
And you can't do anything that requires speech or using your arms
or eyes.
Yeah, there's got to be a certain amount of anthropomorphism. I don't know.
No, you can get it. You're real close.
Anthropomorphic?
Yay.
Anthropomorphization?
I don't know what the action of anthropomorphic is.
You gotta anthropomorphize this rock a little bit.
But so flip it the other way around. Be an awakened rock.
Mm-hmm.
That wants to become a real person.
Real boy, yes.
You can even be like one of those anime objects where it gives you little stick arms and stick legs. I think that would be very charming.
A pet rock where somebody has drawn on a mouth and some googly eyes.
For sure.
Are googly eyes impressive in D&D?
There is an addendum to this story. That may ruin it.
Oh no, I want to hear.
Do you want to for sure?
Wait, an addendum to the potato story or the addendum?
No, this rock story.
Yes, I want to hear it.
A user replies to the question, I have a friend where he said he wants to play a rock. We ended up creating an entire rock golem race for him. The original question asker, Wife, replies, you rock! I made rock porn already.
Oh no.
So I don't know if he got pressed into this after all.
Yeah, I think that this person chose this
likes
for
rocks
themselves.
too much.
Yep.
And then the person helpfully replies, TMI, man. So anyway, Reddit's terrible, and you should never go there.
Unless you're mining questions for podcast. But playing like a rock race.
Yeah.
I think that is the least interesting of like the three options we have.
Yeah, for sure. An animated rock is funny. Playing an actual rock is funny for a session or two. Playing a rock race is, I mean, you're just playing a race. You're just a different dwarf.
How dare you?
How dare you? I do like the idea that you could have been just turned into a rock at some point in time, and maybe now you're afraid when you see rocks, or you miss just being a rock and not having to walk around. Like, you could have had some rock-like behaviors, or you could just be the Rock. We haven't talked about Dwayne the Rock Johnson in a while.
Dwayne Johnson.
That
as
would be
warlock.
the best answer.
Well, that is certainly an option.
We finally got there. It took a little bit.
What warlock subclass is Dwayne Johnson most likely?
I was going to say, what do we think? What do we think?
What's his patron? What's his subclass? How does he keep getting in movies? God bless him.
How does he do that with his eyebrow?
Could he be a genie? I mean, could he be the genie?
Wait. Was he? Was Dwayne a genie in something?
Who knows? He's been a lot of things.
Lurker in the Deep, Noble Genie, Hexblade, Great Old One, Fiend, Celestial Archfey, the Undying. I mean...
Is there one that also fights?
Well, that would be called the Hexblade, which
you know what?
Matthew hates.
No. Anybody... So, every warlock can take the blade boon.
Sure.
And Hexblade is not required.
But he
is... How about the Undying? I mean, he never dies.
That's true. The Undying is pretty good. And then he can use whales.
He didn't have a leg in that one movie, and now he has a leg again. So, yeah, reattaching limbs.
You can cast Spare the Dying as a cantrip. Fun. An undead have a hard time touching you. You can defy death. And you have indestructible life. That all sounds exactly like Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
I think we've figured out what Dwayne The Rock Johnson is.
He's an undying warlock. So there you go.
And hey, that explains why he hasn't really aged in like the past 20 years.
Exactly. Yeah. He has indestructible life.
Nailed it. Now that's a podcast.
Google just said, I don't understand. And I agree, Google. I also don't understand.
Thank you for joining us for this hopefully enlightening episode of Insight Check. You are my favorite person. As always, that sounded way too sarcastic. I'm sorry. As always, we would like to thank Vinswept for our wonderful intro and outro music. Jay, insert the names here.
Never Stand Alone.
Thank you. And we would also like to thank Burnham for our very cute arts of our faces.
And also, we apologize for all the horrible things we've done to that art recently, including some hairstyle changes.
I will not apologize. I think they would find it as funny as I do.
Vibing emote that I made.
That is a sin, yes. The thing you did was a sin.
I liked it a lot. It was the most J emoji I've ever seen. If you would like to understand what we're talking about, you should join us on our Discord server. Check out our Twitter.
Plug.
And you can find the link there and join us to chat anytime.
Yeah, at Insight Check Pod on the old tweet zone. And as always,
answering your cues from our collective A's.
This was
Insight
Check. Also, Bones of the Earth is still a druid. Just only druids.
Okay. Well, we'll edit it out. It's fine.
We'll edit it out. No one will have to know.
We'll edit me correcting you out. I understand.
Sure,
I understand what you mean.
Yes.